Niemand hat die Absicht, das Bargeld abzuschaffen. Bullshit. Bullshit, people. Listen. They're already trying to get rid of it. Bargeld, cash, right? They're already trying to get rid of it. Look, here in Europe, the digital euro is going to be rolled out in October or sometime in the fall, right? And, that doesn't mean that on that day, cash is going to be eliminated, right? It doesn't mean that on that day, you're going to lose all your rights and freedoms. The state always does that kind of stuff with the salami tactic, slice by slice. They take a little bit more. And this digital euro and the European Brussels mandate to put in the digital euro is being sold to everybody as an addition, like another possibility, another way to pay. Like we don't have already 1,001 ways to pay, right? We've got credit card, we've got PaySafe cards, we've got prepaid credit cards, we've got cash, we've got our bank cards, we've got there's Bitcoin. I mean, you fucking name it. There's 1,000 ways to pay. We don't really need a digital euro, right? And the only way that this digital euro benefits anyone is if there's no cash, right? Because the fact is, there are many good reasons to get rid of cash. There really are. You know what I mean? If you listen to the people that are arguing for this digital euro and saying, cash obsolete. There's people getting chips implanted in their hands to be able to pay so they don't have to take a wallet with them. Look, I get it. For the government, no cash, better, right? Why? Because then they can, better track money laundering. They can make sure that everybody pays their taxes. They can, make sure that they don't have to send police on the street to try to find people that get robbed, people that rob people and take their cash, which I don't think they really do anyway. But, they don't have to put in investigations if somebody's house gets broken into and a safe full of money gets taken. People don't have to worry so much by being accosted on the street or losing their money. There's a lot of stories, especially here in Europe, of elderly people going to get a large amount of cash and then leaving the fucking bag somewhere or dropping it or getting robbed if they get seen. So there's all those things, and hey, listen, paying with a card or a chip or your phone or whatever, or your watch or whatever the hell you're paying with, right, is a lot more convenient. You don't have to take a wallet with you everywhere you go, but you kind of do because the state also wants you to be identifiable. So they want you to be able to identify yourself at any moment because they are kind of like the Stasi, you know what I mean? All states are kind of like the Stasi. It just depends where you live, you know what I'm saying, in which country you live. Is it a good Stasi or like a mediocre Stasi, or is it, Putin-style Stasi or Iran-style Stasi or North Korea-style Stasi? It's just different levels, right? But all of them want control over the population in any way they can. And all of them, even in democracies, so-called democracies, none of these places really are democracies in any real way. It's getting better in America for sure, but it's still got a long way to go there too. Democracy is being attacked on all sides, and citizens are losing their rights, salami tactic style, slice by slice, right? So we saw it with COVID. That was the biggest wake-up call for a lot of people that didn't see it and only thought that people like me were conspiracy theorists and we're overdoing it and blah blah blah. Then COVID came and people saw their rights get stripped from them as if they never existed in the first place. People that in America ran around for years saying, well, these rights are given to me by God. You know what I'm saying? They're God-given rights. Well, then God is not a real good protector of those rights, because he did not smite or punish or do anything to make you be able to preserve your rights, although he did give you the free will to resist, and not many people did. So what happened? The state took your rights away. They said you can't run a business anymore if that means you go bankrupt. Tough shit. They said you can't walk your dog after 10 o'clock at night or in certain areas without a mask on. And if you don't do that, you're going to get fined. If you don't pay that fine, you're going to go to jail. So with a gun to your head, they say, give me your rights or face consequences. That's not what a government in a free Western country is supposed to be doing, right? They're supposed to be there for your infrastructure, your education, maybe some health care would be good. You know what I mean? Some sort of social safety net for people that really can't make it or are, suddenly faced with illness or joblessness or whatever. They're supposed to care about, you're supposed to worry about your defense, so the defense of the nation. And that's basically about it, right? But the state in all of these Western countries is all up in our shit as citizens. Now it's like there are parents, you know what I'm saying? Like we're little kids and we have to, the parents decide on everything and we just have to fucking take it. And that's another one of these things, is this taking away of cash. Right now they're trying to sell this to us as an addition, right? There's no way that they're going to stick to that. It's a rollout. It's still in like test phase in October, right? So they're going to test it out. They're going to try to like grease people to use it. They're going to be like, oh, look, if you use the digital euro, you get like a discount and blah, and all that shit, And so a lot of people are just going to go, sounds good. I'll do it. A lot more people are going to be skeptical of it, but, don't want to pay extra cost for using cash, because that's what's happening now. I mean, look, there's some state places, like, at some places where you have to do state business or government business. Let's say, like the DMV to get your driver's license renewed and shit. There are places in the country that are state run that just don't accept cash. They're just like, no, you can't pay in cash, right? Then there's also stores, apparently. I didn't know that this was legal in Germany, but apparently is. There are certain stores, not many though, that are refusing to take cash, right? And then there's, of course, like buses and trains in certain regions in Germany. You can't even get on a bus and pay in cash. Now, why is that, right? Well, it's probably because it's easier, it's faster. Bus companies have to be on time. It is a lot easier to be on time if people just jump in, scan something, are paid up. The bus driver have to count out change and have this like fucking block of coins on his thing to count out your change and have to do that with every customer that gets on the bus. Look, I totally get it, right? I totally get it. And right now, you still have the choice to not take the bus. I won't go anywhere where they won't take cash, right? And if I ever come across a store that doesn't take cash, if I have time, I will just go in and fuck with those people. Like, I'll fill a cart up with all kinds of shit, go to the register and say, I'll try to pay in cash. And if they say no, I'll just leave that cart full of shit sitting there and they can put it away. Look, you have to, I know it sounds childish, but you have to, as a citizen, constantly be showing these übergriffig, these states that are getting way too over their skis. As citizens, you have to show them in every way you can, constantly, I don't want you to run my whole life, right? They already decide if you have to face a war because they make a fucking problem with another country. You know what I'm saying? They already decide that you have to have a license to drive a truck that costs $13,000 or more here in Germany. And you have to have this license renewed every 5 years, and that costs $70, and you have to take a day off work to go and get that license renewed. And they go, well, you don't have to drive a truck, dude. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to do it. If you don't want to pay to get your license renewed, which I already earned and already paid for, you know what I'm saying? And they can't use some of my taxpayer money to fucking give me a new license every 5 years. Why do I have to go there? Why don't they just send it to me? You know what I'm saying? Why am I, as the customer of the state, because that's what it is, they are there to serve my interest because I pay taxes for that, right? Why am I, as the customer, being treated like a slave instead, right? A underling, right? But that's what these states are treating us like. And this push towards getting rid of cash, even though it's going to be easier for everybody, should be resisted in every single way, because the fact is, cash is the only way you have freedom. Just imagine a situation where the government of Germany, which could very likely happen, right? They are so invested in this climate religion, right? That they are fucking up their power grid. We already saw it in Portugal and Spain, that a whole bunch of the, I think also part of France, the whole power grid went out because of these so-called renewable energies that were overloading the power grid or underloading the power grid. Something was causing them to interfere. That's the way it works. When there's enough power in the system, you have to shut off the renewables, right? And if the renewables are pumping more power into the system, it like fucking shuts off. So these renewables are not doing the job they're supposed to be doing because it's too early to really roll them out. We don't have battery capacity to store the energy that they make. The power grids are not there to handle it. So it's just wishful thinking. It's like, we want the world to be this way, and so we're going to act as if it is. And Germany is completely head first, off the cliff into this climatology religion. And so our power grid in Germany is very much in danger of collapsing at some point because of too little use, too much use, whatever. You know what I mean? It's just, there are enough prognosticators out there, enough people that know what they're talking about, that know about the power grid, that know about the renewables, that have said, look, at some point it's going to come to a blackout situation in this country. And listen, what if it blacks out?
Fixed camera in 1 kilometer.
What if it blacks out, right? And you don't even have, you can't even get to any money, right? You can't pay with anything because if there's no power, there's no digital payments, right? There's no power, you can't trade or buy anything. Not in a supermarket, but the supermarket won't work either because they do everything digitally, right?
Fixed
So
camera
gas
in
stations,
500 meters.
gas stations work digitally, right? They could work, the gas stations could work with cash, but the pumps are probably digital, you know what I mean? And so probably electric. So they're not like manual pumps. I don't know if there's a way to manually do it, maybe, you know what I mean? But look what kind of a problem you'd be in, you know what I mean? Even with cash, it's gonna be tough if the power grid goes off in a country like Germany and they can't fix it within fucking, hours, which is a real possibility. Also, by having only digital money, right, the state has complete control over how that money's spent, what you spend it on, where it's spent, to whom it's given, and then they can come along and ask you why you gave a friend money. Maybe I bought some weed off a buddy of mine. You know what I'm saying? Does my buddy necessarily want to be questioned about where he's getting money from all these other people? No. Well, that's illegal. Yes, but I have the freedom with cash to do things like that. What about people that want to fuck prostitutes, right? There's going to be a whole lot of people that are out there that are married, right, that go fuck prostitutes. Now, that's morally wrong. I agree. It is. But it's going to fucking cut their freedom as well, right? The fact is, as a citizen, I should have the freedom to pay with what I want, right? I should be able to pay with cash. I shouldn't have all my transactions, watched by the government. Now, if they agree to keep a certain amount of money anonymous, right? So if you buy anything under $10,000, there's no registration of that money that the government can use against you for whatever. No investigation will come. They're not looking at that, let's say. And there's got to be a guarantee. That is, this amount of money is free to use without fucking, maybe then I'd be more for it, but the problem is, in democracies, so-called democracies, the government changes every time. So, very fast, very quickly, there's turnover in the government. And so maybe right now you've got like Donald Trump, which I like, and I'm like, all right, well, Donald Trump's the leader. I can trust him. But next time it could be somebody you can't trust and you don't trust them. It has different, different goals for the country. And then they change that shit. Rules and things that they write down in constitutions and all that shit, that doesn't mean jack shit to these people. We know that already. As I said, in COVID, we saw the proof, right? We saw the proof that if they want, they can come up with a reason to be able to do basically whatever they fucking want to you, up to and including forcing you to take a vaccine that is new medical experiment that in the end turned out to hurt a lot of people that took it. That's how much power they have. They have complete power. Unless we are willing to react with violence, they can do whatever they want, and they show us that they are doing that, right? They are doing that. And the same thing will be with cash. They're going to try to roll it out as a fucking extra option, and they're going to say, look, you're going to get some fucking discount if you get to use it, and it's going to be easier for everybody. Just like, you know, with everything, people adapt. That's what we do. That's our whole life. Our whole existence is adapting to new situations. So people just go, you know, it is actually easier. No cash, no fear of getting robbed. You don't have to, you don't have to carry it around. You don't have to count it. You know, it's just a lot easier. And the business will be like, yeah, man, we don't have to carry a bunch of cash to the bank every day. We don't have to have the cashiers know how to count anymore. You know what I mean? It's just going to be, you know, fuck it, you know, self-scan. You know, if you're at a self-scan store, can't pay with cash there because there's nobody to give you change. So you got to fucking pay with a card. That's where it's all going anyway, right? That's where it's all going. A lot of places in the future, you're not going to be able to pay with cash. Right? You just won't. But still, it should be an option available to the people at all times, that they have privacy from the government. And there are many reasons to digitize. Many reasons to digitize the money system even more. It is just all around a lot easier, but there are problems with it that people are not thinking about. You know what I mean? And it's the same as with the fucking climate change technology, the renewable energies. You know, they're like, wow, it's amazing. The sun doesn't send a bill and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, there's a bunch of things that they don't mention in that shit. You know what I'm saying? If you only mention the good shit, then of course it's awesome, right? Everything is awesome if you only mention the good shit. You just don't, you have to fucking also look at the bad shit. And of course, what's her name? The tyrant looking, they all look the same. Ursula von der Leyen, the other bitch, Christine Lagarde, they all look the same bitch. You know what I'm saying? With a different mask on. You know, of course they're not going to go, well, people, we're going to control everything you do. We're going to fucking be able to turn your money on and off. Look, guys, they already can. You know what I'm saying? We saw it with the truckers in Canada when they pissed off the government. The government said, okay, we're going to turn off your bank account, take away your livelihood, make it so that you can't fucking feed your kids. They even went as far as to threaten these people that if they had their kids at this protest, the state would try to take the kids away because the parents are putting them in danger. That's how far the Canadian government went. Okay? Here in Germany, Kontrafunk, I think it's German, maybe it's Austrian, Kontrafunk, a radio station, you know, a media corporation, media company, got their bank account canceled because they have opinions that don't suit the state. You know what I mean? So it's already happening, right? It's already happening. It's already happening. And giving the government more power to do that kind of shit, when there's no cash, what if they turn your fucking account off then? Right? What if they turn your account off then? And there is no cash. Right? What are you going to do? How are you going to eat? You're going to have to get on your knees and beg daddy government to please, please, please give you access to your money once again. You promise you won't ever do whatever bad thing it is that you did. You promise, please, 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 daddy, give me my money. That's where you're going to be. Like a groveling little bitch person. That's where we're going. And that's what they want, right? Having control of our money gives them complete control over everything, because without money, you can't eat. Your kids can't eat, right? So if they can tell you, you have to spend this money before a certain day, you can't save any of it. Otherwise, it loses its value. If they tell you, oh, you said the wrong thing on social media, so we're going to close your account, we're going to lock you out of your account for 2 weeks as punishment, young man, right? You gave a couple of $100 to your friend. Did he do work for you? Are you paying him to do black work? Why exactly did you do that? Why did you pay this person $500? What do they sell? Are they a legitimate business? Oh, you paid them to paint your fucking wall in your kitchen? That's a 2-weeker there, guys. We're going to shut that money off for 2 weeks, guys. Sorry, you can't eat for 2 weeks. Neither can your kids, because you fucked up. You know you fucked up, right? That's where they're going. That's where we're headed. And now what can we do? What can we do? That's always the question, isn't it? Well, not much, really. You know what I mean? Because protesting doesn't help, and like I said, nothing really works for what it does work in America. Like, you see, if people in America are outraged at something that Donald Trump does, Donald Trump at this moment, he's the only president that's ever done this, right? But he looks at the social media and the reactions to what he puts out there, and he kind of gauges the public and sees, oh, this is really not popular, right? This is really not popular. Maybe we won't do this, right? He gauges what the public thinks, and sometimes, not all the time, takes the public's opinion into consideration. In Europe, that does not happen. The European politicians do not give a fuck about what the people want in individual countries. None. They don't give a fuck. And all the rules and laws and regulations that they make reflect that opinion, right? They don't care. So I think that the only thing we can do is protest by being as irritating as possible. First of all, pay for as much shit as you can in cash everywhere. Keep doing that, right? Second of all, do things like I suggested. If you see a store that only allows payments with card, right? Then fuck with them if you've got time. Fuck with them. Make their life difficult so that they go, okay, this is too much of a pain in the ass. We're going to start accepting cash here.
Mobile camera in 1 kilometer.
So you got to fucking so like I said, go into the store, put a whole bunch of shit in your cards, go to pay, and they go, oh, we only accept card. Okay, fuck it. Now you got to clean the whole card up and put it fucking all back through the store. That's going to, if 10 people a day do that, they're done with that shit, right? And, keep writing about it on social media. Keep putting out your opinion about wanting to keep cash or anchoring cash within the Constitution so that it's always an option. That's all we want. We don't want to have to pay with everything in cash, right? It is easier for me to pay everything with card and, whatever. I'm not going to put a chip in my hand, but, paying with a card is just a lot easier. You don't have to count. You don't have to think about it. You just fucking click it, boop, card, fucking finish. It's easier. But I want the option and the possibility to use cash when it suits me, and that's all we want. So you'll get a lot of people on your side as the government, and you'll get a lot of people to use this digital euro thing if you go, yeah, dude, it's an extra option. That's how it's going to stay. Cash is anchored in the Constitution, right? And cash is anchored in the Constitution. We can't take it away from you. So you can use the digital euro because it's good and it's easy and blah, blah, blah. But you can also always get to your cash if you want it, right? That's how they need to do this. And we need to do everything we can in order to make them do it that way. And the only thing I can think of is by being a thorn in their side in every single way. So calling them out every way. Keep talking about all of the dystopian things they could do if they have complete control of your money. Write about it on social media. If you make start petitions, do everything you can do. And to be honest, it's almost like I'm advocating for people to do shit that won't do anything, because I think, like I said, these governments, in the end, if it's something they want, they don't care what we think, right? They don't care what we do. They're going to do it, right? Again, like I said, if we would have had just a couple more votes during COVID for the mandated vaccine, then that would have been it. Then the only way to resist that would be violence against the people that come to your house to try to force that vaccine in your arm, right? And even then, they'll just come out with a bigger team and put you in a fucking cell. And maybe while you're sleeping, they'll give it to you. Maybe they'll just hold you down and give it to you. You know what I mean? That's where we're already there. We're already at a situation where we have given away our rights almost completely, and they're coming for more. And at some point, we are going to have to put up a resistance. And I think what is happening is people are waiting until the day that resistance can only be a violent resistance with a large enough group of people, right, that will be able to fight off whoever the government sends. That's going to be tough. especially for us here in Germany, since almost nobody has any guns, right? So that's going to be rough. So I would suggest voting for people right now in Germany. That's the AfD. That's the only alternative we've got at this moment right now that is actually going to at least try to represent the interests of the people. They're the only choice. We've seen that the establishment parties, all they want to do is get more control, more power, more money for themselves. That's basically their goal. They do not give a fuck what the people want. So I'm trying to come up with things you can do without fucking the violent necessity, right? But they are going to keep coming. If we do not put a stop to the government encroachment in all of these countries, right? They're going to keep coming. And there will come a time that people will violently resist them. Then we've got civil war situations up in the motherfucker. And nobody really wants that. You know, the government doesn't want that shit. We don't really want that. Nobody really wants that. So the most logical and plausible solution to do this without violence will be to elect the correct people into the government positions where they can execute their power and change the shit in the right direction, like Donald Trump is doing for America, like Javier Milei is doing for Argentina. You know, that there's a bunch of others, right? Viktor Orban is doing the right thing for his country, right? So that's where we need to head to, right? That's where we need to go to. We cannot let them take away any more freedoms. And it's whatever comes next is where we must say no. And the taking away of the cash is next on the chopping block, right? So it's time, people, to start doing some better resistance, right? In any way you can. And it's not up to me to fucking chew out every possibility for you guys. You guys also must be creative, right? You guys also must be creative. One thing, a creative thing I heard somebody say about the Rundfunkgebühr, the mandatory state fucking television payment you have to make. You know, it bugs them and costs them a lot of extra time if you make that payment in little tiny pieces, so that your payment of $50.05 or whatever it is every 3 months, I cut that up into 10 different payments. That cost me more time, but I laugh about it because I think, they can't get me for not paying them. I paid them. And now they just got to work out adding all the money that I paid up. They got to fucking look at it every other day. I make another payment of $10 or $5. That's annoying as shit for them, right? And it's just me and maybe a couple other people that are doing it, right? But everybody needs to do it. Everybody needs to do it. We need to start needling the state back before it gets to a situation where violent revolt is the only option you have left. That's all I got for you guys. All right, people. Have a great day. Today, the 15th of July, 2025. The Insanity Report for Germany. Peace out.